What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm going to talk about Last Breath, the the narrative feature version of this movie, not the documentary. This is the movie that stars Woody Harrelson and Simu Liu. It's currently available on Peacock, where I watched it with audio description. It's also available on demand, and likely some other places as well. If you know, like DVD, something, I don't know. So click like and subscribe before you run out of air. Oh God. In just a few minutes, take your last breath. So, this film has a tall order because it has to make a really small period of time feel like a feature. It has to stretch like just a few minutes into the whole thing. And the question is it successful in doing that? So, first off, it is directed by the same guy who did the documentary, so he's very familiar with the subject matter, which is excellent. So kudos. This is his narrative feature debut, though. So he's a documentarian who is crossing over. So he's just now having to think about things like directing actors and character and structure and building tension and the kind of things that he doesn't have to think about as a documentarian that he's now having to deal with as a director of a Hollywood movie being released by Focus Features and Dark Castle. I didn't even realize Dark Castle was still around. I feel like it's been forever since I've seen a Dark Castle movie. And it's so weird to see them paired with Focus, which is like Universal's prestige banner, that they house, like The Holdovers and Tar and Conclave. And meanwhile, Dark Castle is known for The House on Haunted Hill, a movie with Taye Diggs and Ali Larter, Jeffrey Rush, 13 Ghosts, Gothica, Ghost Ship. Yeah, not really the same. It's not a thing that you thought there'd ever be like a crossover in like a Venn diagram, that it would just be like circles that never intersect. Would never be an actual Venn diagram of anything. Somehow they came together for this. Somehow Dark Castle stepped in and was like, yeah, we feel like this is 2025 Dark Castle. This is what we want to get into, is true stories that are scary and frightening. Also props to being in the water and not using sharks, because I feel like that's such a huge thing. I saw so many shark movies last year and they all sucked. There was actually a movie in 2024 called The Last Breath, which was not good and was Julian Sands' last movie. So this is just Last Breath without the in front of it. And we've got Woody and Simu, and they're sort of like anchoring this cast. There's actually a lot of people here for a really sort of underdeveloped cast. The film really doesn't want to overstay its time. We open up and we meet the cast, and they're sort of headed out, and we see a guy saying goodbye to his wife, and it's like, oh, yeah, well, I'll be back, it's fine, and they head out, and basically this is a ship that sends these mechanics down to fix these pipelines that are all the way down at the bottom of the ocean, like hundreds of feet down. And the way that they have to do it using like diving bells, and it talks about the pressurization and how slow they have to do it to sort of regulate your the pressure in your body and breathing and everything at certain levels. And they figured out, I guess, the science of how to do it. However, it's also like the bottom of the ocean, like the floor of the ocean like out in the middle. We're not talking about just like swimming a little bit out from the beach, you know, going down about 20 feet. You're like, I'm down at the bottom of the ocean. Look at me. It's like, no, no, no. This is not just 47 meters down. This is holy shit. So there's no light down there or anything. And of course, something horrible goes wrong, which is why there's a documentary and a film. They didn't just make this film to educate you on these people and what they do for a living. Although that would be interesting. Like, oh, well, nothing happened. There's no drama in this movie. It's just, this is what their job is. Okay, well, something. You know, one of the guys that's down there makes it back up, and the other guy doesn't. And Chris is down there, and he's got a really sort of limited supply of oxygen. And the ship that's up top, that's sort of anchoring everything together, including the diving bell that has Woody and Simu Liu's characters in it. They have to try to figure out a way how to get to him, but he is running out of air / will run out of air / maybe this is just a recovery mission. And that's kind of where the movie goes. And this is a well-reviewed movie. It's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't fully disagree with that, because I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. I'm just not going to say I was blown away by it. A couple things that I thought could have made the movie a little bit better. First of all, I don't know why we have so many people on the boat if we're not going to develop them as characters. It's a short runtime anyway, and I think what kind of would have worked, especially when you're trying to show people who are like emotionally invested in the outcome of the situation. You know, I mean, as humans, just as empathetic humans, we're of course, you know, invested in the outcome of saving this individual. But it would be nice to know sort of the dynamic that everybody had with. I think part of the problem is that the leads in this film are Woody and Simu, and the guy that's actually being rescued is not the lead of the film, and that the film should have treated him like the lead until such time he's not, until such time that he's just kind of like a body being rescued, where they're trying to just save him. And I think that that's kind of the story, and it actually ends up kind of pushing more into Woody Harrelson's character, where he talks about how the company has decided to retire him after 20 years. He still feels like he's got time left in him, you know, in doing this job, and he wants to keep doing it, but the company's decided this is the last time that he gets to do this. You know, so I feel like I learned way more about his character, which is sort of unimportant, than I did anybody else. Like, yeah, he's Woody Harrelson, so I get it. You want to make sure that we know a lot about Woody, and he is involved, along with Simu, in the rescue, perhaps a little bit more than the people who are up on the boat. But I think there isn't really a broad cast here. There isn't like a huge ensemble full of people. It's just a couple more people. And I think I would have used just a few more minutes to sort of center and focus the movie on Chris and his dynamic with the rest of the crew, and sort of explaining who everybody was, and showing a little bit of that dynamic. Because I think if we feel like we know who these people are, aside from, you know, just the faces that are in this movie, so to speak, I think the movie would have played a little bit better, because then everybody's emotionally invested. I think there are some other films that center around tragedy that do a little bit better job of boosting the ensemble. There are some that are, you know, Only the Brave comes to mind, Deepwater Horizon, a couple of movies that do a little bit better job of focusing on everyone, instead of just like the one person who saves the day, or two people or whatever, you know, like just flesh out the cast a little bit more. I just didn't think that happened here. And we need more Chris, too. Chris needs to feel more like a lead. I would have cast a more well-known actor as Chris. I don't know who this guy is, just to be completely honest. I mean, I could have clicked on his profile and gone through that, but the fact that he's not at the same level as Woody and Simu just goes to sort of show how the viewpoint on this was not that you were ever supposed to associate with Chris. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it should be Simu Liu. Like, I feel like there should be somebody down there that you're like, oh my God, did they just do that to Timothée Chalamet? Do you know like how many more people would be invested if Chris was played by Timothée Chalamet? Like, the world would be so interested. They'd be like, Timothée Chalamet's trapped at the bottom of the ocean. We have to save him. So there are choices that could be made that kind of elevate the film. It kind of feels like a film that gets lost in like the early part of the year, and then by the end of the year, you're like, oh, that was fine. Last breath. I can't remember that. The audio description's decent, although it's sort of hard to capture. I know why this film works in theaters because of the darkness of being in the bottom of the ocean, and the only light that you have is like coming from a flare, or whatever ambient light device you may have on your swimsuit or something like that. There really just isn't light down there. So it has to be a difficult film to kind of navigate and look at as there's really nothing down there, which is creepy. I'm sort of like, I was expecting one of those like aliens of the deep that James Cameron found to like swim into frame at any time. But this film isn't really about that. This film isn't really about like, you would think it is. Like, that's what I was worried about with Dark Castle. I was like, oh my God, are they going to put like, there's going to be some giant jellyfish or something in here that's going to like, no, they kind of keep the Dark Castle out of it. This was really feels like a based on a true story thing where it's a rescue effort. The struggle is just in figuring out how to take what is essentially like a 30-minute event and stretch it over an hour and a half. So, and my argument is that the best way to do that would have been character development and also Chris development. Just the development of the person that we're supposed to care the most about. So, and casting. I know he doesn't, because of his situation, we don't get to hear like a ton of dialogue, so you'd be overpaying an actor to come into the film. Well, first of all, in my pitch of the film, he would have a little bit more to do towards the beginning of the film because we need to be far more emotionally invested and know who he is as a person. And then second of all, it's worth it because it's so much, you can get so much more out of an audience when they feel emotionally attached to the actor that's down there. Especially if you get an actor that everybody's just like, oh my God, they're so cute. Oh my God, don't do that to them. How dare you? Don't put our adorable little boy down there. Leave Jacob Elordi alone. So I don't know. Just so many choices that casting choices that would have had audiences going, no, not him, anybody but him. Otherwise, it's competently directed. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just, could it have been better? Yeah, it could have. Could it have been more intense or whatever? Yes, yeah, absolutely. It has to fight against, for those who know that it's based on a true story and that there's a documentary about it, it has to fight the urge for us to believe that the reason why it's based on a true story is because the outcome is positive. It has to fight that urge because that's sort of ever present in any based on a true story thing, is that that there must be a reason why we want to tell the story. that there's some sort of uh, uplifting story here. We don't usually tell depressing stories. Sometimes we do, like, awful cautionary tales, but you know, sometimes we tell them not based on a specific story, but based on like an event. So we'll take something that was tragic, like World War II, and make Saving Private Ryan. But like Private Ryan wasn't a real person, that wasn't a real mission. So we want to hit you with like the horrors of war and the feeling of loss, but we also want to do it vicariously through an event instead of the specific story of a Private Ryan. So that kind of thing. There are films that are sort of these trapped underwater or trapped in a location type of films, and they also have to fight that same thing. 127 Hours with James Franco obviously had to fight that and do a good job of, showing the desperation of being in the situation. There's just a lot of examples of fighting against that, against the, wasn't this dude on TV later on? I think I saw this on, I think I saw him on Good Morning America, like stuff like that. It has to fight that, and it's a struggle. So, and but for a feature debut, he's also a writer on it. I don't know that he's necessarily thinking about crafting and manipulating audiences, which is what a lot of other writers and directors are doing all the time, is thinking about all of these extraneous things and how to manipulate a story and characters, and how to bring the audience into just the right moment and to sort of like hold them in the palm of your hands and like crush their souls. He's just thinking about telling the story. He's like, I was invested in the story because I made the documentary, and this is how it is, so this is what I'm going to say. Like, he's not really the type of guy that feels like he's going to flip it and create new things that weren't there. He's like, well, that didn't happen, so why would I put that there? That's kind of what I feel like this guy's doing. So, yeah, that's the difference between making a documentary and a narrative feature, though, is that sometimes you have to take just a few liberties. That's why the medium changes. Otherwise, your documentary would just live and die on its own, and it doesn't need it never needs to be adapted. The reason to make it into a narrative feature is to sort of show the cinematic value of it, which also includes sometimes making some changes, and expanding upon things in a way that you were sort of unable to in the documentary. Anyway, lots of thoughts about that. I thought the audio description track was fine, although don't expect much because they're mostly at the bottom of the ocean and it's pitch black. So there's not really a whole lot to describe, but in some of the beats where it matters, there are certain little things. I don't want to give away like the whole movie, even though, again, my whole point of this review is basically the whole movie is inherently given away already. I don't know. So, is it good? It's fine. It's at the end of the year. I'm not really gonna be putting last breath anywhere for anything. I can't see this surviving at the end of the year on any sort of like top 10 in any sort of category. But I don't know, maybe. So last breath, I'm gonna give it a B-. I thought it was okay. Check it out if you want. I don't really have anything against it. I just think it could have been a stronger movie. But the thing about being certified fresh is basically this is a fresh grade from me. So I would also be helping to certify it fresh. It's an agreement. It's an aggregator. So Rotten Tomatoes is basically saying that a majority of the critics would recommend a film, and a high majority, because you have to get 70% or above and a certain minimum amount of critics to review you in order to be certified fresh. So that way, it's a minimum because they don't want like a small independent film that, was originally only seen by like 15 critics, but like all of them loved it and then gave it like perfect scores. and then suddenly later on the film gets picked up or whatever and reviewed, and then everybody else hates it, and then its score gets totally flipped, and then it loses certification. So, which could happen, but they have to make sure that basically the numbers are not going to change, and that they're not going to have to uncertify a movie. There you go. Last Breath. Check it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.